personal mixing system from Roland Systems Group is built around the M-48 personal mixer. The M-48 is designed to give performers on stage control of their own monitors. The M-48 receives up to 40 sources of audio, grouped into 16 stereo pairs for easy control. Each performer on stage has their own unique set of 16 groups, a personalized set of sound groups they can control. Built-in 3-band EQ for every group, digital reverb, and an ambient mic, all dedicated to your personal mix, give you professional quality and control over the mix in your own monitor. Rugged design with knobs, buttons, and plenty of indicator LEDs make the M-48 easy to use. Truly personalized setup allows an M-48 to be custom configured for the amount of control that each individual performer wants. The M-48 gets its 40 channels of various sound sources from the REACT system, delivered by a Cat5 cable. Connectors for headphones or powered monitors, extra local inputs and outputs make for a flexible system design with lots of options. We'll take a closer look at the M-48 in a few minutes, but let's talk about the overall system design. The RSS personal mixing system can be used as a standalone system with any mixing console, or it can be fully integrated with RSS REACT systems. First, let's take a look at integrating with the RSS vMixing system. The M-48 uses the REACT connection on Cat5 cables. Like all REACT devices, you can use standard Cat5 cables or these ruggedized connectors. This one connection delivers 40 audio sources, power, and control communication between the M-48 and other devices in the REACT system, such as the M400 live mixer. Up to 8 M-48 personal mixers can be connected to one S4000D REACT splitter with embedded power. Multiple S4000D can be used if you need more than 8 units of the M-48 in your system. The S4000D connects to the vMixing system as a split from REACT B on the M400. This diagram shows a typical system configuration with the M400 live mixer and 2 RSS digital snakes. 40 audio sources from the M400 are distributed to all the M48s through the S4000D. How each of the M48s can use these sources is managed by the M400, and we'll examine that in more detail in a minute. In this advanced configuration, the vMixing system is expanded to use a second M400 in the monitor mix position. The personal mixing system gets its 40 audio sources from the REACT B port of this second M400. The RSS personal mixing system works great with any other mixer as well. You can connect any mixer to the RSS personal mixing system using an input box from an RSS digital snake. In this first example, we see a mixing console connected to an S4000S configured with 40 inputs. Any audio output signal available on the console or any other source can be sent to the personal mixing system. All 40 sources are sent to all the M48s in the system. If you don't need 40 inputs, you could use the S1608 for up to 16 inputs, all 16 sources sent to all of the M48s in the personal mixing system. This configuration might lead you to consider a full RSS digital snake for all audio distribution in your mixing system. The M48 personal mixer receives up to 40 audio sources, but mixing 40 audio sources while on stage could be overwhelming or too complex for the performer. So the 40 audio sources can be combined into stereo groups for more convenient control. Up to 16 stereo groups are available for mixing on the M48. In this example of a jazz quartet, we're taking 11 sources, that's 9 from the stage and the main stereo mix, and sending them to 5 stereo groups. So 11 sources can be easily mixed using only 5 groups on the M48. Each musician can have their own set of personalized group assignments. Let's look at what the drummer might like to control. The drummer chooses to have separate control over each drum mic, except the two overhead mics, which are on one group, panned to the left and right. The piano player might choose this assignment. He gets his two piano mics panned in stereo onto group 1. Doesn't everyone like to have themselves on the first knob? Then the other band members are placed into one group per player, except that the piano player wants the hi-hat independent of the rest of the drum kit. So in these examples, the whole band is sharing the same set of input sources, but how they are grouped for control is completely personalized for each band member. There are 16 stereo groups in each M-48, controlled by 8 knobs in 2 layers. Here with this button selected, I have groups 1 to 8, and here I have groups 9 to 16. With the ability to assign sources to any of the 16 groups, each M-48 can be custom configured from this simple setup, a me and everything else kind of mixer using only 2 groups, to this more complex setup using all 16 groups, or anything in between. So how do we set up all these groups? The M400 has access to every M48 in the system to configure group assignments and every other aspect of each personal mixer. Let's take a few minutes to look at how the M400 operator has control. The M400 can see every M48 in the system. Each unit can be named for easy identification. The M400 output patch bay controls which 40 audio signals are sent to the personal mixing system. Available outputs include the main outputs, auxiliary outputs, matrix outputs, recorder monitor outputs, direct outputs of any channel, talkback, and oscillator. On the source assign screen of the M400, we can see each of the 40 sources we've selected in the output patch bay for the React B bus. We can assign each of these sources to any of the 16 groups in the M48. So using the drummer example we showed a minute ago, we can see each source assigned to a group. Note the 2 overhead mics assigned to the one group, and 2 piano mics assigned to one group. Here's the same screen for the vocalist's simple configuration. When several sources are assigned to one group, the sound operator maintains control of the relative mix of those sources. Here's the screen where you can set the overall level of each source. You can also set the pan position where the source will sit in that stereo group. In fact, the M400 can show all the settings of each M48 in the system. The sound operator can see what each user is doing and help troubleshoot for new users or take complete control if necessary. For example, when working with a guest artist who's never used an M48 before. The M400 has access to scene memories in each M48 and also has its own library of M48 scenes. This allows the system operator to send preset configurations into any M48 to help any user who's lost their mix. The M400 can store scenes for every user and recall any setup at a later date. In a more complex application, with highly programmed shows, the M400 can recall scenes from each M48 as M400 scenes are recalled. With the RSS personal mixing system, the sound operator can decide how much monitoring control to give over to each onstage performer. Even when the performer is given detailed control, the sound operator has the ability to jump in and control any function on any M48 personal mixer. The sound operator retains control when necessary at the front of house or monitor mix position. When the RSS personal mixing system is not used with a vMixing system, the sound operator still has the same control over the personal monitoring system. The S4000 RCS software runs on a standard PC connected to the RS-232 port on the audio input box. Here in the software, you can see the source to group assignment screen. In this screen, you can see the M-48 source, level, and pan. So whether you use the RSS personal mixing system fully integrated with the vMixing system and M400, or with another console, the sound operator has deep level access to all functions from one central location. So what about the performer? How do they use the M48? The M48 has a simple control surface hiding a powerful mixer inside. The main controls are the 8 knobs, surrounded by rings of LEDs. These control the 16 stereo groups, with 1 to 8 when I press this button, and 9 to 16 when I select this button. The current function of these knobs is determined by the control section on the right-hand side. When I press this volume button, the volume of each group is controlled by these knobs and shown by the ring of LEDs around each knob. It's easy to set the volume mix of your personalized set of groups, and this is probably the most common function. You can hear any group in isolation using the solo buttons. All other groups are muted. This is handy for sound checks and setting EQ on each group. Turn the solo off to go back to hearing all groups. Each group is stereo, with the pan position of each source set by the sound operator. However, on the M48, you can reposition the group as you wish. Each group has a dedicated EQ, with high, mid with a frequency, and low. Use this to adjust the tone of each group to your taste or to the response of your monitors. You can also control the amount of reverb on each group. This is especially useful when using in-ear monitors, when direct sources sometimes sound lifeless and dry. All of these settings can be stored into 16 memories in the M48, so you can recall your setups at any time later. Across the top of the M48 are the master section controls, including a headphones level, LED meter, a limiter to protect your ears from unexpected volume spikes, master EQ, a reverb on-off button, and a separate volume control for the line outputs. The auxiliary input level and ambient mic level controls bring us to the back of the M48. On the back, you find connectors for 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch headphones or in-ear monitors. An attenuator sets the correct range for your headphones. Balanced line outputs are available to drive powered monitors. This output can be switched to a sub-output with internal low-pass filter, particularly useful for a drummer on headphones who just needs that extra thump from a subwoofer or the rumble of a low-frequency shaker. The stereo recording output is great for connecting to a recording device like Edirol R09HR. This is the ambient microphone built into every M48. This helps performers who sometimes feel isolated by in-ear monitors. They can turn up this mic to hear each other talk during rehearsal or to hear the sound of the audience response. A dimmer switch turns down the brightness of the LEDs for dark theater use. And of course, the last thing on the back panel is the REACT connector, providing the 40 audio sources and power from the S4000D. That's right, no AC brick required, and full control from the M400. The capabilities of the personal mixing system reach beyond what we can show in this video. The personal mixing system's unique design and features make your monitor mixing truly personal. With great sound quality delivered by REACT, tweakable to taste with EQ and reverb, you'll love what you hear coming from your monitors. 40 channels, easily controlled in up to 16 stereo groups, make the M48 a pleasure to use on stage. The M48 is easy to use for the performer and also provides full control for the sound operator. The RSS personal mixing system fits into any size of sound system. The REACT system allows flexibility in system design and opens the door for future expansion. For touring acts, houses of worship, theater performances, and recording studios, the RSS personal mixing system is the most powerful and yet simplest personal mixing available.